Today, I'm sharing with you the top 6 tips and giving you guys a bonus tips as well of things you did not know about investing in vacation markets for short-term rentals. Let's go and make sure you guys hear number 3. It's kind of a little doozy, and make sure you listen till the very end because I do add one bonus tip for everybody. Let's go. Welcome to Chai and Cabins, where we talk all things entrepreneurship, short-term rentals, real estate, and business. My name is Rashmi, like don't rush me, and it's my pleasure to welcome you onto this podcast. So my first tip is if you are investing in vacation markets specifically for short-term rentals, which you guys have heard me talk about are my favorite ways and areas to invest for short-term rentals, make sure you know a lot of your traditional banks may not want to invest in these areas because they are rural areas and you're running what is basically a hospitality business, which means there's not predictable revenue. So when you have a long-term property and you sign maybe a year contract with a tenant to stay there, that is actually proof for a bank that, hey, you're most likely going to collect on this money and it's going to come in very consistently every single month. Whereas in short-term rentals, the revenue does tend to fluctuate because people are booking last minute. There could be a natural disaster that happens. There's all these factors that come into play when people are taking vacations. So, not to scare you guys off right off the bat, but the very first tip I have is make sure you know and are working with lenders who A, understand these markets, and B, who understand vacation home rentals. If you guys need any suggestions for lenders, I have a whole bunch that I have personally worked with, and I also have friends who invest in a lot of these markets, and I usually ask them for referrals on lenders as well, and I'm more than happy to share those with you guys. All right, number 2. Most vendors, if you are in vacation rental markets, are actually not going to be on Google. So say for example, you live in San Francisco or LA, you could literally go to Google and be like, I need to find a plumber, and find like 500 people, a competitive bid, and you could have 5 people out there. Yeah, it doesn't work that way in vacation rental markets. These markets are much smaller, and your relationships and your network will help you find people. Now, I am a big believer where there is problem, there is money to be made, but understand that exactly what I just said. When there's a problem, there's money to be made. So these contractors will charge you a little bit more because they're showing up right away. Or maybe they don't show up right away and are still charging you because they don't have to compete with city labor, because in these small markets, the labor pool tends to be pretty limited. A lot of these investors, especially new ones, get really shocked when they're like, oh, it costs this much to do this. And the way I look at it is, if a professional is worth their weight and is good at what they do, I am more than happy to pay for their services. And you should too. I do find a lot of these guys are really nice. They will talk to your guest. They will work around your guest schedule. And I'm actually going to get a little bit into that into one of my other tips. But go in there with an open mind and just make sure you have the cash budget to be able to afford a lot of these things. And just like it's not quite as easy as going online and booking an appointment and someone shows up at your door. My tip number 3, which again comes from tip number 2, is labor is expensive. So people are much nicer. People will work around you if you find the right fit. And a lot of the ways I find my people is by talking to other investors in the exact same market. But just know it is expensive. Make sure, as always, we're budgeting. All right, tip number 4. If you're in a true vacation market, so I'm talking like the Smoky Mountains, I'm talking about Broken Bow, these are markets I am in, they are professionals. Now, here's what I mean by this. Let's go back to the example of if you live in San Francisco and you invite a plumber. Now they're going to be like, what time are you guys there? What time can I come by this? But in vacation markets, especially true ones, they're like on the game. They will ask you for the door code. They will ask you for your calendar so they can work around your guest. They will ask you, is there a guest there? No problem. I'm not going to scare your guest and tell them XYZ happened. I will call you back and calm the guest down if there's an emergency that is happening. So these guys are really good, and you don't have to explain these things to them because they've grown up being in this business and they understand the nuances of having customers that can help with these things. All right, tip number 5, I think. I could be on 6 too, I'm not really sure. You are going to find that Amazon still takes 3 to 4 days to deliver packages. Now, in most parts of the country, Amazon can be found in, 2 hours, under 1 hour, all of your stuff is here. Yeah, not in these vacation rental markets. They still take a while because these are rural areas. They're up in the mountains, they're on the water, they're not like at this court. And that's why people go vacation on them. They're looking for a getaway. So just know that if you're ordering supplies, it's maybe not going to be overnight. Things are getting better. We are seeing more kind of players come on the market. Shipping times are reducing. But just know, again, going in, a lot of investors kind of get like this first time shock for these things. Part number 6, or tip number 6, is parts are not going to always be available. So we've had an issue where our hot tub cover needed to be replaced. And honestly, if I was in the Smokies, if this had happened to my hot tub Smokies property, I could have had 3 vendors there because there's like 3 hot tub vendors that are all like really good. And they would have measured it and gotten me a hot tub cover, excuse me. However, that is not the case for the property I have in Texas, and so I've had to have my cleaners go measure it, then I've had to go online and order it, and it's taking 6 weeks to get a new hot tub cover. So, and a hot tub is like one of those weird things. It's a bigger appliance, basically. So it's going to be a little bit more specialized, but just know, even usual items are not available. So one example I can think of is in the Smokies, there's this Walmart. And for anyone that's invested in the Great Smoky Mountains, you know which Walmart I'm talking about, on like the main strip. And this Walmart is always slammed. Like, it should be like one of the busiest Walmarts in the country. Like, it's always slammed and there's like nothing ever available. Anyways, I didn't know this when I bought my first property, and I went in there because I needed to pick up some backup bed sheets because I was just out, and they were like completely sold out. Like, this aisle was just like empty. And it's crazy to think that. And I was like, hey, like, when are you guys getting your next shipment? And they're like, maybe not for another week or 2. And I was like, imagine having a property and you're out of bed sheets and you have guests coming. That is nuts. So you want to make sure you're really well stocked and you order things ahead of the curve. And by the way, for that one, I actually ended up going to a local supplier because there was a linen provider in that market who actually had the linens that I wanted. So we were able to cover it up, but just know it's not as easy as just being like, let me just drop by Walmart and figure this out. All right, I did promise you guys one bonus tip, and my bonus tip is, I think this is hilarious, but there are actually no Home Depots or Lowe's in these markets. Like, they are just not big enough for these big hardware stores. So a lot of the contractors either end up going to Ace Hardware, which, even though I love them, they do tend to be 2x to 3x as expensive as Home Depot. And the other thing is, these contractors, if they can't find the parts they need at Ace Hardware, will literally go, hey, I'm going to go out to a big city, which is maybe an hour, 2 hours away, get the parts, come back. So a project that ideally would take 3 hours is now taking 3 days. And in the vacation rental market, when you're turning these properties overnight, that can be an issue. So I have a couple of ways I deal with this. The main one being, I'll call a couple of contractors or handyman and just see like, hey, does anyone just happen to have this part laying around? Can we maybe like do a temporary fix till we wait for the big part to come in? And I will say, a lot of these markets, they are starting to get Home Depots and Lowe's, but they're still, like, I'll take the Smokies, for example. If you're in Gatlinburg and you want a Home Depot, you're going all the way out to Sevierville to go to the big Home Depot there. And I'm still not sure if there's a Lowe's or not. Now, I will say there are a couple of small vendors, but if you're like me and you don't know anything about being a handyman or hardware, you're looking for one very specific part, it's really hard to call up all of these guys, see if it's available, see if it's in stock, go back to your handyman, coordinate all of this. So just be aware of these things. I love investing in vacation rental, as you guys have seen on my channel, but I do want newbie investors to be aware that these are the things you will run into. And if you guys need any help at all, please do not hesitate to reach out. And if you have made it to the end of this video and you have not hit that subscribe button below, please do so I can keep making some more great content. And if you guys have any specific questions for me, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer them in another video. And please send me a DM on Twitter/X if you're enjoying this content. I would love to connect with you guys. Thanks, guys.